I still remember the way my boss leaned back in his leather chair, smirking as if he had just won a game. "From today," he said, sliding a thin folder across his desk, "your salary will be cut in half. Budget issues. Half. Just like that." My stomach twisted, but I kept my face calm. I had given this company 11 years. Late nights, weekends, cancelled vacations, all for loyalty that meant nothing. He stared at me, waiting for me to explode, but I only nodded. Inside, a storm raged. He thought he had crushed me. What he didn't know was that I had something he never expected. Something sitting quietly in my drawer at home. And it was powerful enough to burn down everything he had built. That night, I couldn't eat. My wife sat across the table, her fork motionless. "Half your salary?" she whispered. I nodded, rage burning in my chest. After everything I've done. I lay awake for hours, thinking of the long nights I'd worked while he spent them dining in luxury hotels. He thought I was powerless. He thought I'd stay silent. But I had a copy of a contract, one clause that the company had overlooked during a massive merger deal. It was buried deep, but I knew its value. If I used it, it wouldn't just save me, it would destroy him. The next morning, I opened my drawer and pulled out the dusty blue folder. Inside was the contract I had helped draft 3 years ago during the $600 million merger. There it was, Clause 14B, the one I had argued to include, even though my boss had brushed it off. He never paid attention. I did. And now Clause 14B could undo everything. If triggered, it would void major sections of the merger and put the company at risk of lawsuits worth millions. I stared at it, my hands trembling. Revenge was within reach. But was I ready to set the fire? At lunch, I overheard 2 managers laughing in the cafeteria. "Did you hear? He cut his salary in half." About time someone humbled him. They were talking about me. The humiliation stung, but it also fueled me. My boss wanted me to crawl. Instead, I'd rise. That evening, I made copies of the document and locked them away. I emailed a version to myself with a private subject line only I'd recognize. Every step made my pulse race. If I pulled this trigger, there was no turning back. 2 days later, my boss summoned me again. He smiled coldly. "You're lucky to even have a job. Plenty would kill for half your salary." I clenched my jaw. He didn't know what was coming. I leaned forward and said calmly, "Actually, I've been reviewing some old contracts. Found something interesting." For the first time, his smile faltered. "What kind of something?" he asked. I slid a single sheet of paper across his desk. His eyes scanned Clause 14B, and his face drained of colour. The trap had been set. The air in his office grew heavy. My boss scanned the page again, his fingers drumming nervously against the desk. This doesn't mean anything," he muttered, though the sweat forming on his forehead betrayed him. I kept my voice steady. "Actually, it means everything. If this clause gets activated, the entire merger collapses. Investors, lawyers, the board, they'll all come crashing down on you." He shoved the paper back toward me, his hands trembling slightly. "You wouldn't dare." I leaned back in my chair, a slow smile tugging at my lips. "Try me." For the first time in 11 years, I wasn't the one afraid. He was. The next day, he called me into his office again. His tone was different, softer, almost desperate. "Let's be reasonable," he said, folding his hands. "We can work something out." A raise, maybe. More responsibility. I stared at him. Yesterday, he was a king throwing scraps. Today, he was a beggar. "Why now?" I asked coldly. "Because I have proof you overlooked." His jaw tightened. "This could ruin both of us." "No," I said, standing. "It'll only ruin you." His eyes widened, and for once he had no comeback. Words spread fast. I noticed whispers in the hallways, quick glances when I passed. Something was leaking. One colleague stopped me near the elevator. "Hey, is it true you found something in the merger documents?" I raised an eyebrow. "Why do you ask?" He leaned closer. Because the board is meeting in 2 days. If you really have something, you could blow the roof off this place. I didn't answer, but my silence said enough. As the elevator doors closed, I realized something. My boss wasn't just scared of me. The entire company was. That evening, I got an email, not from my boss, but from a board member. We need to talk, urgently. When I met him in a quiet cafe, he wasted no time. We know what you found. If you release it, the merger dies. The company bleeds millions. But if you keep quiet, there's a seat for you at the table. A promotion, power. It was everything I had once dreamed of. But I couldn't forget the years of humiliation. Why not cut him loose instead? I asked. The board member's eyes narrowed. Are you suggesting... I leaned back, sipping my coffee. I'm saying I want justice. That night, I lay awake again, staring at the ceiling. The offer was tempting: power, money, status. But it came at a price, letting my boss walk free after everything he'd done. My wife rolled over, whispering, "You've carried this company for years. He used you, then tried to break you. Don't give him the easy way out." Her words sank in. I thought of the smirk on his face when he slashed my salary, the laughter from my colleagues, the nights I gave away to his empire. Number. He wasn't getting away. By morning, my decision was made, and it would shake the entire company to its core. The boardroom smelled faintly of polished wood and coffee. Everyone sat in silence, papers neatly stacked, eyes darting between each other. At the head of the table sat my boss, trying to look calm, though his stiff posture betrayed him. When my turn came, I stood. My voice didn't tremble this time. Ladies and gentlemen, before you vote on the merger, I need to present a detail that has been overlooked. I placed the document on the table. A hush fell over the room. One board member leaned forward, brows knitting. My boss cleared his throat, fake confidence dripping from his words. This is unnecessary. He's exaggerating, but the clause spoke louder than both of us. Silence wrapped around the room again. For once, all eyes weren't on him, they were on me. The moment the CFO confirmed the document's validity, my boss snapped. This is ridiculous. He's twisting the facts, he shouted, slamming his palm on the table. The board didn't flinch. One member said coolly, "The language is clear. If this clause activates, the liability falls on whoever signed off the merger. And that's you." My boss's face turned crimson. His mask of power was cracking. He glared at me across the table. "You planned this. You've been waiting to stab me in the back." I didn't raise my voice. I simply replied, "No. I've just been waiting for the truth to speak." The silence that followed felt heavier than any scream. From that moment, the room's energy shifted. People who once laughed at his jokes avoided his gaze. Allies turned into critics. The chairman spoke at last. "This discovery changes everything. The merger is paused. An internal review begins immediately." My boss tried to protest, but no one backed him. He was alone. One director looked at me and said, "Thank you for catching this." If it had gone through, the consequences could have been catastrophic. I nodded, but inside something stirred, a mix of triumph and relief. For years I had been invisible. Now they finally saw me, and my boss saw the beginning of his end. The review moved quickly. Within days, the evidence piled up. Missed details, ignored warnings, reckless approvals. Each mistake had his signature stamped on it. Whispers filled the office halls. "Did you hear? He might step down. No, he's finished. They're going to fire him." One afternoon, I saw him storm out of his office, tie loosened, face pale. A crowd of employees parted like waves as he passed. No one greeted him. No one dared. Later that night, an official email hit every inbox. Effective immediately, Mr. Harlan Brooks is relieved of his position as CEO. I stared at the screen for a long moment. It was over. Not even an hour after the announcement, my phone rang. It was him. His voice was hoarse, almost unrecognizable. You think you've won, don't you? You've ruined me, I didn't reply. You'll never survive in this company without me, he continued, bitterness dripping from every word. They'll chew you up and spit you out. I finally spoke, calm and steady. No, they'll remember I stood up when no one else would. There was silence. Then the call ended. I set my phone down, my heart racing. For the first time in 11 years, I wasn't afraid of him. I never would be again. The day after his removal, the office felt like a different world. No barking orders, no slamming doors. The tension that once clung to every hallway seemed to evaporate overnight. Co-workers who once avoided me now nodded respectfully. Some whispered congratulations, though carefully, as if afraid the walls might still carry his shadow. His office door was closed, nameplate already removed. The once feared corner office was nothing more than a hollow room. I walked past it and smiled. For years, that door had symbolized power and humiliation. Now it was just wood and glass, and it belonged to someone else. Weeks later, the new CEO called me into her office. She leaned back in her chair and said, "I reviewed your track record. Your attention to detail saved this company. You've been overlooked for too long." My heart pounded. She slid a paper across the desk, my promotion letter. Not just a raise, but a title my old boss swore I'd never reach. I signed it with steady hands. The irony hit me like a wave. The very man who tried to bury me had built the stage for my rise. I didn't expect to see him again so soon, but one rainy evening, leaving the building, I spotted him across the street. His suit was wrinkled, his tie undone. He looked smaller. Our eyes met. He smirked bitterly. "Enjoy it while it lasts. This world always finds a way to punish the ambitious." I didn't respond with anger. Instead, I said, "You're right." But it only punishes those who forget humility. For once, he had no comeback. He turned and walked into the rain. The story of his downfall spread beyond the company walls. Other firms heard. His reputation, once untouchable, was now a cautionary tale whispered in boardrooms. People who once admired him avoided him. Recruiters turned him away. The man who thought he was irreplaceable had become invisible. One colleague leaned over to me at lunch and said, "Poetic justice, isn't it? He cut your salary. Now he can't even earn one." I didn't laugh, but deep down, the satisfaction was undeniable. On the anniversary of the day he cut my pay, I stood in my new office, larger than his ever was, overlooking the city skyline. I thought about the document that started it all. Just one overlooked detail, one hidden clause. He used to say, "You're nothing without me." Now the truth was clear. I had been something all along. It just took one storm to reveal it. I raised a glass of water to the window, a silent toast. Not to him, not even to revenge, but to justice. Sweet, overdue justice. Months after his downfall, I got a call from a law firm. They wanted me to testify. Apparently, the merger clause I had revealed triggered investigations. His reckless decisions were under review, not just by the board, but by regulators. When I showed up at the hearing, he was there, pale, thinner, his arrogance stripped away. The lawyer asked me one simple question. "Did you knowingly bring forward this clause?" I replied, "Yes." Because it was the truth, his eyes burned into me, but I didn't flinch. The verdict came weeks later, barred from holding executive positions for years. His empire crumbled to dust. He once cut my salary to show me who held power. Now, with a single legal clause, he had none. The echo of his downfall lingered in the halls where he used to roar. Every time I walked past his old office, I felt the reminder: power abused is power lost. The board hosted a dinner to honor the team that saved the merger. For the first time, I sat at the table of decision-makers, not in the shadows, but at the center. The CEO raised a toast to those who stand for integrity, even when it costs them. I caught my reflection in the glass and smiled. I wasn't just surviving anymore, I was leading. The seat he once denied me was now mine, and it felt better than revenge. It felt like destiny. One evening, I got an email from him, short, bitter. "You think you've won, but without me, you're nothing. Remember that." For a moment, I almost replied, but then I realized silence would sting him more than any words. I deleted the email. Sometimes the most powerful revenge is indifference. On the anniversary of my promotion, I revisited the file, the very document that ended him. I locked it away in my drawer, not as a weapon, but as a reminder. My boss once believed cutting me down would keep him untouchable. Instead, it exposed him. Justice hadn't come with fury, but with precision, and that made it sweeter. As I turned off the office lights that night, I whispered into the empty room, "You ended yourself." I just handed you the mirror, and with that I closed the door, not just on the office, but on the past.